Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing my first review on manga, and I'm going to be doing it on volumes 1 through 4 of Ajin Demi Human. If you plan on reading this series, this is a spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about some of the events that happened in volume 1 through 4. I want to talk about the characters and how I feel about them and whether or not I want to continue reading this series and eventually give a rating at the end. So yeah, let's get into the review, and I'll start talking about what happens. In the world of Ajin Demi Human, it's a lot similar to ours, except that there's demi humans on top of humans. And the main difference between them is that demi humans can't die, they can't be murdered or killed in any sort of way that we know of. There's not a lot that have been, discovered about them. So when one is pops up, they want to do research as much as possible to figure out what's the secret behind them and how do they not die, and no one knows where they came from or if they're born a demi-human. Not a lot is known about them yet, and our story follows our main character, Kay, and he's a normal kid. He's stupid smart, and for most part that we can see at first, he's like a normal human. And then there's this one day he's with his friends and he starts dozing off, having flashbacks from his childhood. And he walks out in front of a truck and he just gets absolutely destroyed by this truck. And everyone's shocked and awe. And then the truck driver gets out, wants to make sure he didn't just kill somebody. And then all of a sudden Kay walks out and he's perfectly fine. He's unscathed. And everyone immediately flips and turns on him. And for the next few chapters, it follows just him running away from everybody, because as soon as he's labeled as a demi-human, a prize is put out for him if someone turns him in or lets people know his location. So pretty much it's everyone versus him, and yeah, it's pretty wild because you can see the shock in his eyes too. He even thought that he would be dead. He didn't know that he was a demi-human. So yeah, it just kind of follows that from here on. So from this point on, he doesn't know exactly where he can turn to. He doesn't know who's going to be against him. His friends also, the friends that he was with, immediately turned on him too. And there's even interviews later on where they're talking bad about him. So he doesn't know exactly who he can trust, and he thinks back to it, and the only person that he can trust is his friend Kaito. So he calls him and says that you're the only person I can trust, and pretty much immediately Kaito shows up on his his sick motorcycle, picks Kay up, and then they start their retreat, and he thinks he can take him somewhere. And throughout this journey that those two have, they're stopped multiple times by people who just notice them. They barely look at them and they know who they are, and they try to capture Kay and even kill Kai if they have to. But this is where we see that the demi-humans have other powers as well. They can pretty much Jedi mind trick their will with theirs. Kai kind of killed a few people on the way of their escape. It's pretty badass, but I don't think that either of them thought it would go that far. But I mean, they was their life. They had to choose their life over other people at that point. And Kai had to choose Keito's life at one point. He wanted to save him, and if he didn't, he would die. So immediately these high school kids had to choose life or death, just in the first 24 hours of their escape. And by the way, on top of the whole changing people's willpower, we also see this black ghost that Kai may be able to control or not, and sometimes they say sentences back, We've seen it in flashbacks, but we don't know a lot about them yet. But anyways, so yeah, they eventually escape and get to the location that they think they're safe at currently, but they plan on eventually leaving and getting to a safer place. But as Kaito is sleeping, Kei is thinking about leaving because he doesn't feel like wherever he goes is going to bring danger, and so he wants to like try to maybe get in contact with other demi-humans. Like there's got to be other ones around, and so he steals Kaito's phone, and he gets away, and like almost as soon as he gets away, he gets a call from these two other guys who we'll talk about more later. But they got Kei's sister's phone and called him, and he answers, and like the guy over the phone mentions a black ghost, so he knows that he's like demi-human, and they agree to meet up. But from what we've already read, we know that there's like some other ideas that I'll say his name, Hat, has, but he wants to try to like test Kei in a way, and like they start talking, and Kei isn't really having the same vibe as Hat, so Hat pretty much turns him in. Like he makes it act like they're protecting him, but they kind of let him be taken into custody, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But he pretty much tells the other guy that like, hey, I'm doing this so he can see our point of view on things, and then it pretty much goes into this long, scary torture that he has to go through now. These people are like chopping off his limbs, cutting out his throat, all sorts of things. So they're just running all these tests on and seeing like what he can handle, what he'll regenerate from, and it's pretty fucking brutal. So like a few days pass, and eventually Sato and Tanaka are going to rush this building to save Kai, and because now in their heads they're just like, oh, he's been experimenting torture on it for a few days, now he can see our side and he'll join our cause. And they do so. They rush this building with so many guns and firepower, and they use those a lot more than they use their ghosts or variants or whatever. And they eventually get Kai out, and they're like, oh, well, so now you're on our side, so let's kill these scientists for what they've done to you. And Kai doesn't want to do that. And then now it's turning into Sato is hunting Kai and these scientists, and he kills a few of them, and then Kei and this one scientist eventually get out because this guy like pretty much marked a path for him. And then it goes to the rooftop, and Sato pretty much he's threatening to do things to Kei that is just so wild, and like Kei does everything in his power to kind of save the scientist and also get away, and he like gets into this riverbank and escapes for the time being. And then eventually goes to outside of this building, and there's like reporters everywhere. They want to figure out what's going on. Like, did the variant escape, or the demi-humans escape? And they have to say, oh yeah, there's casualties, blah blah. And then Sato comes out, and he pretty much says that he's a demi-human, and then he just tells all of the secrets behind it, like what they do to all the demi-humans, like how they hunt them, how they experiment on them, how they treat them, and he's trying to like show all the horrors behind it and try to like draw sympathy from everybody. And then eventually he walks off, and then like even I was like, oh, this is gonna work 100%, but then like days pass, and like everyone forgets about it. They start saying it's fake, and even with the footage that he released, they say that's fake. But then we realize like he wasn't doing it for the humans, he was doing it for demi-humans. and then he gets like this group of demi-humans to all meet up with each other, and he starts talking about like goals and what he wants to do, and like some demi-humans agree, some disagree, and then like there's a big fight that happens, and it's just wild. It's wild what happens. And then one of the good side demi-human escape, and then we'll talk about him some more too, because so far he's a pretty good character as well. So yeah, from this point on, it follows pretty much Ko's side, and him and like the good demi-humans do like everything in their best to get him to escape, because they believe like he can like eventually oppose Sato, and eventually he does escape, and then like somehow he just meets up with Kai, and like Ko recognizes him from TV, and I mean I thought this was kind of funny because this is two demi-humans that Sato tried to recruit, and now they both escaped from him, and now they're meeting up together. But Ko starts talking about what happened, and he wants Kei's help to help stop Sato and his plans, and they're talking about like how they're going to do it, and then he kind of just betrays Ko. He locks him up and like he like starts chasing him and wants to like stop him, and then like they start fighting, and it's a pretty good fight. Like they fight off a cliff, and they like stab each other, and like you can almost see that like Kei's learning from watching Sato fight. Like he now knows like the advantages he has as a demi-human, and he uses those over Ko, and he locks him in like the back of a semi-truck that is abandoned, and he just leaves him there, and he starts spitting off like these facts on like how long he can live without food, and like what happens if a demi-human starves to death. Like who knows. But it was actually kind of funny, but I was kind of hoping that they would work together, but he just wants to survive, so he just traps him and he leaves. The last part of Volume 4, I kind of want to talk about when I talk about certain characters, but I want to like just give like my brief like summary about certain characters and how I feel about them. I'm gonna start with Kei. So far, I don't know how I feel about him as a main character. There's parts where I love him, like I loved him and Kaito's relationship, how they defended each other. But then like there was something later on where he said always in the past that he would only ever help others if it made him look good, which I mean it's kind of like a scumbag thing, but I mean it's a nice. It's new and refreshing to see a main character like kind of be selfish, and even during the part where he was trying to help the scientist escape from Sato, he was like having this debate with himself, like does he try to save him or does he just escape with his own life? And then eventually he just decides to do it kind of sort of by like pushing him off a building into like what could be a safe spot. But I mean he did save him. But then there was the whole like him and Ko situation where he found another demi-human who's like good, but then he also wants to survive, so he just kind of attacks Ko and currently has him locked up. But I imagine eventually we're going to see Kei like team up with Ko maybe, or team up with other demi-humans to fight Sato or escape from him again. I mean, overall, I like him as a character. It is pretty new not to see this character that wants to fight all evil. He mainly just wants to live and not be afraid the whole time. So, I mean, I get it. And I'm only going to talk about Kaito briefly because he's not really in the first 4 volumes a lot, but he's kind of like the typical protagonist. He immediately just helps his friends whenever they need it. Even in like volume 1, they're not like currently in a friendship, but he heard that his old friend was in a bind, and then he immediately drops everything, sacrifices his life for him, and he's great. He's great. I hope he comes back. I hope he doesn't die, because there was some parts in the first volume, like their relationship kind of made me sad. So they're probably going to use that against me at one point. But I only want to talk about one more character. I want to learn more about other characters before I talk about them. This is only the first 4 volumes, so I know they're going to come up more. I definitely want to learn more about Tosaki and his bodyguard and the company and all this other stuff. But the last character I want to talk about is Sato, or Hat. Man, this character is something else. At first I thought, I don't know how I felt about him, because he breaks out his friend, and then they contact Kai, and then we're to believe that they're protecting him, but then we see that he uses his ghost to shoot himself from a distance to make it act like the company is coming to attack him, but they only wanted to seem like they were protecting Kai, and then they turn him in to get tortured for his cause, because he just wants Kai to be on his side. And the extremes this man goes to for his purpose is just insane. So yeah, he gets him locked up, and then he goes to break him out to further get him on his side, and this man does it all. He cuts off his own arm, he kills himself, he mows down through so many people to get to Kai, and then as soon as he's not on his side, he starts hunting him, and he pretty much says that, like, hey, I know I can't kill you, but what happens if I chop your head off? Like, is that the same you? What happens? I want to just keep doing that to you. And then until you can be told, hey, this is the right way. But like eventually he escapes, and we see him like do the same thing with other demi-humans where they're not on his side, so it's like, oh, well, I want to attack you now. And like the last part of volume 4, for the people that have read, they know, but so this man pretty much says, hey, we're going to war with you. And then the company like sets up their defenses with like the research they know about demi-humans. They're ready. And in my head, I was like, oh, Sato's going to go in there, not know that they know like some of their weaknesses now. And it's going to be like this back and forth. Oh, no, this man gets into an airport, gets on a plane, hijacks the plane, and crashes it into the building and kills who knows how many innocents. Like, and then he just walks out. And that's how volume 4 ends. And that's the last volume I have. And I'm waiting for volume 5 to be in stock. Yeah, spoiler alert, I want to continue reading this series. So far, I want to read it to the end. This is great. This is like the second or third series I tried reading, and this has got me glued to it. This was my treat to read every single night. So yeah, I love this series so far. Volumes 1 through 4 got me hooked. I like have like a few problems here and there, but like so far, like 9 or I want to give it 10 out of 10 for volumes 1 through 4. No, I'll change it to 9 out of 10, because I mean there could be some other things that I like, but yeah, this is what I wanted in manga, and I got it. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch the anime because it doesn't look good, but yeah, I'm definitely going to finish reading this series. You'll probably eventually see a review from volumes like 5 through 8 or whatever. But yeah, let me know. I'm still new to this whole YouTube thing and reviews, editing, all this other stuff. I'm kind of just experimenting right now. Let me know what I should read. Let me know how you feel about the series. Please don't post spoilers for future volumes in the comments, not just for my sake, but for the other people that might watch this. But yeah, like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. And yeah, thanks for listening. And yeah, see ya.